All right, we are
Excellent.
live. So you should be able to see questions as they come in.
Mhm.
I am here with my man Curtis. If you didn't see our first video that we did, where we walked through some of the really cool strategies that we've been implementing in DMI, be sure to check that out. We didn't get to do as much as a deep dive, nearly the deep dive that we're going to get to do today. It was just kind of like, okay, intro. Here's conceptually, where we're thinking about deals in DMI, and then moving forward, here's kind of what we're thinking. And now today we get to look back over this past year, look at some of the deals that have been done, and most importantly, talk about conceptually how we're thinking about deals. What it's led to is
Right.
over 20 private equity firms. I've talked a lot about funds. What we haven't talked a lot about is private equity firms. And that's where Curtis has been doing an amazing job of just leveraging some of the strategies that we've been doing. And we've basically built out over, like I said, 20 different private equity firms that are doing deals together. The couple deals already done
Right.
this month that I didn't even know about. Curtis just told me about, which is really exciting. Another one that's coming up. So we're gonna go through that strategy, and I think conceptually this is a really important outlet to have. I think
Mhm.
sometimes when we're looking at the results, and this is just in general for life, but you can look at the results and try to fix what's going on. So if you're not making all the money that you want to make, you look at the end of the month, I made 5,000 this month. I really
Right.
wanted to make 100 grand.
Right.
And so we try to fix the actions. And we're like, okay, if I'm working in sales, I got to sell more. I got to, find more leads. I need to do more marketing. I need to do all these things. And sometimes it's not about what you're doing. It's not about the action. It's
Mhm.
really about how you see the world. And so it's
Right.
starting back. It's almost like a fountain that is putting out polluted water. So you can get to the end of that stream and say, oh, this water is polluted. Let me go and filter it. And so every day you're taking that water and you've got to filter it. But what would be even better is to go to where the fountain is, and you might just see, oh, there's this trash right here. And if I remove the trash from where the water starts, I never have to go through all of that in the first place and deal with the pollution. And
Right.
so that's what people are really dealing with. It's like there's a lot of kind of trash around how they see money, how they see the world, how they see business deals, and all that. And a lot of what we try to do, especially with the folks that are building these private equity firms, is open their eyes to this isn't as difficult as you think. You're
Right.
making it difficult because you're focused on all the action as opposed to doing the most leveraged activity, which is fixing how you see the world. And so this strategy is something that has been built over a number of years of us going through trial and error and realizing, hey, here are all of these other ways to do things. So before we jump in, Curtis, do you want to give just kind of a high level overview of how you came to some of these realizations that led to this strategy we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah. So honestly, that a lot of it came from us being having conversations around PEFI and the private equity, fund incubator, and they were concepts. We did them at some of the concepts came from, as an example, our offsite. Some of them came from just chopping it up with DMI, and they're really concepts around how does a micro private equity firm utilize the concept of hedge fund, or utilize the concept of private equity, or utilize the investment banking piece, or raise capital, or some a lot of these concepts we just kind of amalgamated them, and we'd go, Ace talked about, he talked about the owner being the banker. How
Hmm.
can we actually execute on that? What does that look like? What could we do? And out came, the sustainable deal structure, where we give a down payment. The owner does a financing, and the owner takes equity. Well, why can't we expand that to the whole ecosystem? What about the broker? Can the broker take equity? What if we excite the employees about where we're going? Can they take equity? If we excite the suppliers about where we're going, can they take equity? So we took a lot of the concepts that we talk about in our mastermind and actually executed on those concepts to really, I mean, it's really all one big experiment. But the
Yeah.
wonderful part of it is it's an experiment that you control and that you have every opportunity to make a tremendous amount of money. So if you take that and you take it in its totality, there was an article that came out, I think about 6 months ago, talking about a private equity firm who was a firm of the firm, right? He actually was the firms actually invested in their firm. Everybody knew what they were doing, and they got equity, etc. Well, that sparked an idea of what happens if we have all these micro private equity firms, and they invest in and utilize the sort of like the buying power of group economics, but you're getting you're getting one aspect of it is investment banker, so you're arbitraging a rate, one, and then second, you're getting equity in the underlying property that you buy. So you're going out and you're raising capital. And the one thing that has been consistent across the board for us in the last 3 years is really what's the most important skill that you can develop, and that is raising capital. And once you really understand that, the whole world opens up to you because
Yeah.
now you have in your book coming out, infinite return. Is it out? Beautiful. So infinite returns. Oh yeah, I love it. Go buy the book. Is it on Amazon?
So right now it's just limited to the Patreon members,
Okay,
but it'll be released to everybody pretty soon. So
cool.
we're giving them a special access for
Special
the first
access.
couple months.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I got you. So infinite returns. You're raising capital, you're investing that capital, and you're getting one, an arbitraged return on your investment, i.e., I'm getting 25%, I'm giving 20%, I'm arbitraging the 5%. I show this as the delta, right? And that's the first, and that's investment banking part of it, along
Yeah.
with raising the capital. And then you're getting for that, you're getting a slice of the equity. And when we talk about slice of equity, Ace, we're talking about a cash flow that allows these folks to have anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month of equity in
There you
terms of
go.
cash flow.
Yeah.
Infinite return. And all they did was find somebody, a friend, family, or colleague that they have a relationship with, that they borrowed the money, gave an extraordinary rate to them. They arbitrage that rate, so they get 5 or 6 or 7, 10% on the arbitrage rate, and they get equity in. And more so than anything, we've already sold the business to the people that's in. So there's a lot of moving parts here. We
Yeah.
sold the business already to the person that's inside the business, and we just basically groom them for a year. We build the credit of the
Now, when
business.
you say inside the business, you're talking about one of the employees. So you
Yes,
sold it to one of the employees who wants to buy the business.
correct. Or we have a program where we reach out to, like in our case, cosmetology students or schools, and we have those graduating students come into the business, run the business for a year, and they're the ones that's going to buy the business. So we're not running the business. We don't want to run the business, etc. We want to have either someone already in the business who we sell before we buy, literally.
Exactly.
Um,
That was the point I wanted to make sure was really clear, is that it's a beautiful situation when when you're doing due diligence, it's up to you what you use to filter the deal, and there's no limit on how you filter the deal. And a lot of people focus on things that aren't really going to make them money. They're looking at the business, and they're trying to go back 4 years and see what was happening 4 years ago, and that can be really valuable. It's great to do, but the real focus, if you're looking at where to put the time and energy and effort, it's the future.
that's right.
If you're gonna put 40 hours into looking into the due diligence of the past, that just means you should be doing 400 on the future.
Right.
And so this is part of that whole idea of, when we're buying a business, we're not, the due diligence that we're doing is how are we going to grow this business? What are we going to do to impact the bottom line and get a really great ROI? And this is a continuation of that idea, which is, hey, how can we just have a buyer already and know
That's right.
exactly how much we're gonna make from this thing?
That's absolutely
Takes
right.
a lot of the risk away.
It takes tons of the risk away. I mean, that's what we're really all about, is risk mitigation and making sure that we can consistently grow that business. So when we go in, we look at two pieces: the forensics of financial and the forensics of operation. And so from a financial perspective, we're trying to increase the bottom line operationally by 33%. And then we add the digital side onto it that doubles the income and doubles the value of the company, basically. And then we're out. We're
Yeah.
12 to 18 months. We're out of there, and we make it creative for the buyer. As I said, we extract the credit and then hand that over to the person. So they basically have about a 10%, a little stake in the game, so skin in the game, so they can, have some appreciation for it. But at the same time, we make sure that they can afford, the business. So we build the cash flow of the business. We, add a digital side to the business that pays the business. We keep the digital side, by the way, as our own personal annuity, and we keep rolling. And we're doing two of those. We're starting in September. We'll do two a month. We will finish up, like this month we did two. August we'll do two digital deals, and then starting in September we finance the whole thing basically with our firms, and then start operating.
So one of the unique things about this that I think is gonna get a lot of people who check out the channel excited is we talk a lot about funds,
Mm-hmm.
and you've kind of taken that to another level and created these firms. Which, how many now are in the network?
27.
Okay, so about to hit 30.
Yeah, it'll actually hit 30. I'm hoping today, because there are quite a few people who are looking at it, and I have a private session with those folks, and it may be 30 today.
Yeah. So the neat thing is, for folks that aren't interested in starting a fund from scratch, but this is like, hey, let's skip a step, let's get straight to the cash flow, which is really the goal for most folks. There are a lot of people, and that unfortunately we've ended up turning down in PEFI, that aren't at a stage where they really need to be worried about a fund.
Right.
If you're not already making six figures, the first goal is, hey, let me make six figures in deals. And so the private equity firm strategy gets you to that first step,
right,
which is, let me do deals, create arbitrage, create income. And like you said, it's not like you have to have a bunch of these deals. At the lowest level, you're generating $1,000 or so a month with your firm being a participant in these deals. And that doesn't include the exit. So you're getting this cash flow, and then but the plan is, it's not even a plan. I can't call it a plan. What's been done already is we've already signed a contract with the buyer.
Right.
So we've got the buyer of this business. We've got the funds to acquire the business. We know what we're going to do to execute on our plan to grow in the in-between time. And so you get to have some income coming in, and then you get to have those exits. And so that gives you both of those things, give you some cash flow, but then it gives you, and this is one of the most exciting things to me, is what makes the wealthy money. When you look at Elon, when you look at Bezos, look at Zuckerberg, it's not, investing. Everybody talks about investing in the stock market, which is great. We're going to talk about how we do that. It's not investing in real estate. Like you put your money there, but the wealth is built in equity of a business that you own. And so with these private equity firms, what we give them access to is to get that access to equity.
Right.
And the reason that's so powerful is, unlike real estate where a house is limited by the comparables in that neighborhood. So I can't buy $100,000 house and make it a $10 million house
Right.
just because the comps aren't going to be there. I could add endless square footage and, you know, make it this huge thing, but you're just going to have a huge $200,000 house. And, you know, you look at the stock market, like, unless you're doing something illegal, you have no control over increasing the value of the equity that you have in the stock market. The power with this is you can have a $500,000 business that you go in and have direct control over. You have an impact on that growth, and there's no limit. It could be a 10 million, it could be a $20 million business one day. And
Right.
so not having that limitation on what you could do, on how much that equity can grow, is the game changer. That's what makes private equity different from every other type of investment. So yeah, talk just a little bit about the difference there, and then how we do you know, use some hedge fund strategies as well to take advantage of the stock market.
Certainly. So fund versus firm, we talked about that ad nauseum. Don't have to kind of go into that, but from a firm perspective, like you said, you can get into that, I mean, really quickly. And like you said, you should be ready to get into a fund from that perspective. You talk a lot about that, so I really won't go into that. I will talk about, let me talk about that deal, and then kind of take you through the aspects of it, because it's different than where we started. So this deal is it's called Pro Styles. It's in 2 different locations in Texas. Guy was selling both locations for $70,000. A little, we bought it. It probably worth about $95,000 based on cash flow, right? V is equal to E times M. So that was good. So here's what we did. We actually raised twice as much as we needed. And what we did was, so we bought the 2 locations. Each location's had the manager who's already signed on, who's already going to buy the place. So that's already a done deal, right? So we already know that we have a buyer. Great. So what did we do? So the first thing we're doing is we bought it for, let's say, $70,000. We also took about $50,000 and we put it, we did 3 things. The first thing is we created a
and what was the cash flow on that? The positive cash flow, like
the
4,000?
initial positive cash flow is about $4,500.
Okay.
Okay. Not a lot, especially between 2 organizations. When we looked at the analysis, we could probably bump that up. We could, you know, taking away some of the things and increasing some of the value, we could get another 10 to 15% out of that. We believe we'll get $5,000 out of that.
Well, yeah, but I think it's actually kind of a nice thing that these are smaller deals.
Yes.
Because you can do so many of them.
Exactly.
When you're talking about, hey, you got 2 done this month, you got another one that'll probably close at the end of the month. Like it's about the numbers. And one of the things, you know, I was just having this conversation. I think one of the things that people get wrong about this space is not looking at it like a piece of real estate.
Right.
You know, back when I did own real estate, you know, I had 36 properties, and before selling all of them, like, they were all over. You know, I had some that were little ugly houses, some that were in nicer neighborhoods, some that were, you know, I'm just planning to flip. And so, you know, I didn't mind the $50,000 house that I could have passive income from.
Mm-hmm.
What I realized, and the reason I sold all of those, was I can do the same thing with businesses, and the income is a lot higher. So, you know, for those real estate folks, you know, you go out and you buy $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 house. It's awesome to be able to get a few $100s a month from that. And this exactly what you're talking about is the difference. Exactly. You know, when you can get a $70,000 business, you know, and that really runs itself. You can make $4,500 from that, and it be unlimited as far as what you can,
That's
you
right.
know, we just talked about that, but even on the rental case on a piece of real estate, there's only so much you're going to be able to increase and get rent from that.
That's
With
right.
this business, it could be at 4,500, but you could turn that into 9,000.
9, exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So watch this. So everybody get
I
pen.
have to. I know where you're going, but I have to slow it down so that they're getting these little
Right, right.
points.
So get pen and paper ready, because this is you've never been on a ride, as Dr. Dre would say, never been on a ride like this before. So here you go. So we bought this $70,000 property, but we financed a lot more. So we financed in the working capital. We find
By the one more thing before you get into it,
Sure.
make sure y'all are hitting the like button. This is really valuable stuff that, you know, this a lot of people get on here and talk about ideas and concepts and possibilities, but you know, these are strategies
This
that
is
we're
real
using
life
right
right here,
now,
right
doing
now.
right now. You know, we're really getting these deals done. So be sure to hit the like button, and thank Curtis for popping on here.
And by the way, this didn't happen just like, oh, we got this idea. This is an evolution of processes that's going on, which tells you never stop evolving. That's the first thing. So, all right, the anatomy of this deal. So a little bit of working capital, about $15,000. And then we financed the digital side of the company. Because here's the thing. We have this concept called a digital enterprise, and it's basically a digital enterprise with the physical presence. And just to not take a lot of time, once you're making more money on the digital side of the house than you are the physical side, and I'll explain the digital side, but just understand conceptually, once you're making more money there than you are on the physical side, you can declare yourself a digital enterprise, which allows you to declare a completely different multiple. It allows you to declare a multiple that's higher than just an e-commerce, but also lower than some of the other technology type of organizations. But we basically say we are a digital enterprise with a physical presence. That allows us to have a 5, 6, 7 multiple. So just keep that in mind. We bought it at a 2 multiple, but we're going to turn this into a 7 multiple. Now watch the magic of what happens here. In 90 days, the magic in 90 days. So we had this digital side. That digital side consists of an e-commerce store, a robust e-commerce store, an NFT program, a small, tiny NFT program, a membership program that says you get all these great benefits, and you get an NFT such that you're the only person that can go with those benefits, right?
And you can sell it. You can
And you
sell
can
those
sell those
benefits
benefits
to
as well.
someone else. I mean, it's basically
Absolutely.
like it would be like if you had a limited number of memberships that got you know, discounts, et cetera, et cetera. But
Exactly.
now they can sell
They
that
can
to
sell
someone
that.
else.
Right. So that's 2 pieces. The third piece is we're using beauty as our base, and we are writing a audiobook, which it actually has to come in the form of an ebook first and a physical book, and then an audiobook.
One more thing on that concept on
Mhm.
the NFT, I think, you know, for some folks, if you think about something like a massage envy, which is something that people are familiar with,
Mhm.
you know, it's beyond just discounts, because we kind of said discount, but I want to
Right.
make clear thing. But you know, you can imagine a massage envy that's saying, okay, we're gonna have this number of members. Those are the members. You're able to have that, but you're gonna sell this, and then somebody else can get those same membership benefits.
That's absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. And the beauty of it is you create these, these, if you would, ads and or offers to these special members. These are your VIP members. The cool part is we treat these people like VIPs anyway. We give them a little discount. They do all sorts of things. All we're doing is saying, hey, pay us $2.99 or $4.99, for this package. It's a lifetime package, and you get all of these benefits. And every month you get all sorts of things only.
Almost like Prime. It'd be
Exactly.
like if you had instead of Prime just saying, okay, you're going to get this as long as you pay for it. But I think the interesting thing is, especially when you say something like NFTs now, it's associated with the Bored Apes and
Board
that
A.
kind of thing,
Yeah,
which is, that's okay, but that's not the true use of it.
exactly.
And it's really exciting for businesses that are real businesses,
Yeah,
especially offline businesses, to take advantage of with their fans and customers that have real business applications. And
that's
so,
right.
like this is a totally different thing. It falls
Yeah,
under the same category because it is a non-fungible token, but
it's
this is
totally different.
not
Right.
the Bored Apes kind of
Exactly.
NFT.
This has utility. That's
It's
what
real
it has
utility.
utility, right? And it's a business membership. And for those of you who are on here who think that this is like just made up, go check out Gary Vee, who sold millions of dollars worth of NFTs for a restaurant that he doesn't even have open yet. But only those people. He started at 15,000. I think the membership now is up to 24,000. It won't be open until 2023, and only those people can go to the restaurant. So if I have a membership and I wanted Ace to go to visit the restaurant in New York, he can't go because he doesn't have he doesn't have the NFT on his wallet. So that's what we're talking about. Only those individuals get the specialty. So the third piece is the digital platform, if you would, the media platform, digital media, which we talked about a couple of years ago. Ace having a digital media side of any website that allows you to differentiate yourself from everybody else. Right. That's the third piece, and then the fourth piece is an investment side that we do. That could be we range the gamut of investments, but on average, we're getting anywhere from 10 to 15% per month on our money. And so you take all of those pieces on a $50,000 investment, and you're adding in $7,000 to $8,000 to the physical side. Now that 5,000 plus the 8,000 makes $13,000, or about $160,000 of free cash flow per year. Now you don't multiply that 160,000 anymore by two, because you're no longer a physical presence. You have a physical presence, but you're a digital enterprise. So you're multiplying by about six. So you took a $70,000 company and you just made it into about a $750,000 to $800,000 company that you can actually take to the bank. Well, you go, well, Curtis, well, somebody's on there. They're like, you just made that up. Well, if Ace Chapman comes and he buys in a share into my company, now my valuation is exactly what I said it was, because it set the tone, it set the bar, just like real estate. If I'm in a neighborhood and a house goes for $30,000 more than any houses there, they now set the bar as to how much we can sell all of our businesses in our neighborhood. So we basically go in and we buy a portion of everybody's share such that we can establish that valuation at the number that we said it is.
Yeah, and one of the things that is really cool is, we're doing some things with crowdfunding right now,
Mhm.
but when you're exiting through something like a crowdfunding campaign, you're exiting a portion of the business. That's going to be at a higher multiple. That's going to
That's
be
right.
at the higher multiple than what's normal. So if you're in an industry where maybe it goes to four, and once you go into crowdfunding, it's basically a level below. It's the reason that we took Fiji public,
Right.
is that we're an industry that might get a max 5 or 6 multiple, but because we took it public, it's at a 24 multiple. The same thing here. If you have that deal, you're starting at a 2, you grow it, maybe it could be a 3.5, then you take it to the right market, like crowdfunding, and now it can be 7, 8.
7, 8.
And it's also why doing the smaller deal gets those high ROIs.
Exactly.
It's tougher if you're starting with $1 million deal. It's tougher to get those increases in multiples. So get it at a very low multiple. Nobody's going to sell $1 million deal at a 2 multiple.
Right.
And so you don't get the benefit of those higher multiples that then give you a 10x. So taking $1 million deal to a $10 million deal is really, really difficult. But if you can have a high volume, and that's what you've done here, is creating basically almost like that McDonald's style system of creating these private equity firms that can go out and do this
Find the money.
over and over,
Right.
so that you're over and over just taking these deals. You don't need to buy the big one because the McDonald's doesn't need to sell a hamburger for $1,000 to do billions. They can sell it at a couple bucks because they built a machine to do it over and over and over.
Exactly.
And I think this is the same thing. It's the
That's right.
machine that creates that value.
That's right. So you say, well, Curtis, that's cool for you guys, but what about the firms? What about them? And the attraction for the firms. So Kadera Muhammad is on here. Her attraction is her valuation will be a couple of $1 million by the end of the first year. How is that? Well, first of all, the multiple for a private equity firm, even if it's micro, is different than a brick and mortar. Right. So that multiple is anywhere from 7.5 to 10, depends, on what you're doing, but it's 7.5 to 10. So now you look at if she's in every single one of the deals, and we have 24 deals a year, and she's making $1,000, per deal, or even $800 per deal. That means that she's bringing in about $250,000 of cash flow. All she needs to do
into her firm.
To her firm. And that doesn't even include the freaking arbitrage. That's just the cash flow. That doesn't include the arbitrage. That doesn't even include any growth that we're talking about. We're starting at the $1,000 mark, right? And so when you think about
that, Kadera is one of the actual members, by the way.
Yeah, and Kadera is the actual member. Yeah, I'm not making
she's all this.
Yeah, she is the member. This ain't made up. You've never been on a ride like this. This is not made up. This is true. So now she's at a $3 million valuation. $3 million from literally just raising capital. She didn't put any of her own cash in. And oh, by the way, if she does put any of her own cash in, she gets 3 checks. Kadera Muhammad, as an individual, lends to Omnipotent Capital as a firm. So she gets a 20%. Omnipotent gets 25%. The arbitrage is 5%. So each of them are getting a check, right? And then just on the arbitrage, and then, of course, the equity that she gets.
Well, one of the things that's awesome for me is, we've talked about these things. And so to just hear your explanation of putting it to work in the real world is really beautiful. I do want to go through, let's take some of these questions that came in. Actually, this last one, Kadera did just say, the real deal.
Holyfield.
So we'll go start from the bottom and go up. It's from Kadera. She says, definitely higher than 3.5 multiple from my old marketing agency.
This is true.
And we got one more from her. Multiple checks in one deal. That's one. And really, I guess before we this reminded me.
Yeah.
You didn't go into the stock strategy. We don't have to give the whole thing, but that's the final check. So I do want to talk really quickly just about as much as you want to share about what we're doing there, and then
in terms of what, Ace?
In terms of the option strategy.
The option strategy. So that the part of the digital side that really turns the engine for us in terms of income is the option strategy, right? So on the physical side, your income comes from selling products and services. On the digital side, the income comes from obviously e-commerce and the stuff that you drive e-commerce with from the NFT, those ads and things of that nature, those offers, but also the option strategy where we're getting 15% on our money every month on that money. And so that money actually contributes to the bottom line. So you have a digital side of your company that's bringing in with the option strategy, doing the option strategy that we have, that's bringing in twice or 1.5 times at the multiple, or excuse me, the money of the physical side. And so we use, those four pieces to, and we kind of moved away a little bit away from in most cases, the crypto piece until the world comes back to normal. And so we utilize the option strategy to give us a high return on investment, and it makes for consistent income, great cash flow, as well as obviously the multiple multiple, and the value of the company skyrockets by doing that.
So yeah, so we're talking about these multiple checks. It's literally income. So here's some multiple checks on one deal.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that makes it really different. And when it comes to the one of the things that I like is I don't really want to risk my money in the stock market. I don't want to risk my money with crypto, but if I can take a little bit of the income from the business, or take the cash that's sitting in the business, and especially one of the main things we do is sell options against that, and so it's generating that income, and it's not the end of the world. No matter what happens, it's just not the end of the world. But it's very low risk, high probability. Basically selling of options that makes a huge difference there. Absolutely. Which is really.
And so we're on both sides of the coin. We're buying low cost yet high yielding options, and on the other side, actually buying options. So we're buying the stock and selling the option for premiums, and then we're buying where we find, and we have a couple of people who just are just dynamic at this. They're just dynamic. They're buying at the right price where they can see that it's going up, and we're turning over within swing trading in essence.
So we got Darius. We'll go back to the top. I was going to start at the bottom, right. But we'll start at the top here. He says, "What's up, Ace? How's it going? Curtis, thanks for popping in.
Absolutely.
Give us a few of the fire emoji." And these are folks that, that's the great thing is like most of the time we're talking to folks when we get on here that have been past members, that have gone through the process, that are in deals with us right now. So that makes all this stuff a lot more fun. So Deval popped in. Marva says hi.
Hey Marva, how you doing?
Excellent.
Good to see you again.
And I think Ashley had a question. So we got Ashley here. And he said, "I'm in a heavy situation. Have 1,000 a week coming out with a bad debt and absolutely nothing coming in. What's the best way to get out of this?" Leverage buyout is one of what he asked. The tough thing is without knowing the details of especially where the debt is. If it's especially if it's associated with a business, I would go and renegotiate whatever it is. So whether that's getting the principal knocked down and the payments knocked down accordingly, or just getting the payments stretched out and keeping the principal the same, making sure there's no interest, basically like, hey, I want to get you your money back, but I'm not gonna be able to do it if you're charging me interest. So the first thing is to go back and renegotiate that debt. Now, you mentioned leverage buyout. So I'm not sure if you're saying have somebody buy your business with the leverage buyout, but if this is a business, and especially if you can renegotiate that, I would at least have it on the market because you never know. One of the things that people discount is, if you're in a business and it's not going well for you, it doesn't mean that there's somebody else out there that it's not the perfect deal for.
Absolutely.
And so that means looking at your business from a deal maker perspective. What are all the assets that I have? Do I have a customer database of folks that would be valuable to somebody else? Mm-hmm. Do I have strategic relationships? Do I have a manufacturer? Do I have inventory of products that are just sitting there? So you're looking at, number one, what are the assets that I have? And number two, who would these assets be valuable to?
Right.
and you're kind of putting those together, and then you can start to approach those people, and with those combination of things, going back and renegotiating the debt and finding the right person that has the highest. And that's what we're trying to figure out. When we're selling a deal, we want
Right.
to figure out who's the person. And if we're selling that to somebody that's already in the business, one of the reasons that's powerful is that they have a higher emotional attachment to that business than a complete stranger walking in off of the street.
Yes.
So you're trying to figure out who has the most motivation or would have the highest level of interest in buying my business, and going to them, and then you're negotiating that debt on the other side. Then hopefully you can have especially if you're being late and that kind of thing, you can convince them, hey, you should transfer this debt over to somebody else and make it assumable so that they can take over this debt for me. And that gets them in the deal as a leveraged buyout, gets you out of the deal, which is the most important thing, so you can go on and do your next thing.
Let me just say one thing
Yeah,
about
what would you add to that?
looking at again, we don't know all the details.
Yeah, it's
I,
tough.
I would say that one of the things that you really want to look at your business from the standpoint of what's the key thing that makes your business drive. What's the most like valuable thing of your business, and who in your industry thinks that that is huge, such that you become a strategic fit for somebody else,
Yeah.
right? And you can then get a premium for that. So you're looking at not just who can buy my business, but who can give me a premium even if my business is where it is right now. So the way you get a premium is through strategically selling your business as a strategic implementation for somebody else. That may be a larger business, that may be a smaller business, that may be a merger opportunity for you. So think about it from that perspective. Look at we do this thing called forensics on the financials, and more specifically on the operations, which tells us what's the differentiator, what's your moat, what's different about your business than anybody else. And oh, by the way, just so you know, Ashley, as good as you are, it's not you. You are not the difference between you and everybody else's business. It's what aspect of your business differentiates you from, or your business from, the business down the street. So think about that, and as you go forward, certainly.
Love it. Love it. Great question. Thanks for popping in, Ash. Cecil says tapping in.
Tap tap.
Thanks, sir. Just a reminder, be sure y'all hit the like button. And I think we're good, man. We got, as you said, epic. Certainly appreciate that. We got one more. Let's do this question before we bounce out. All right. So it is, I think it is said, I can't tell it. When you're trying to put in the real world will be hard. Please correct me if I'm wrong. All right, he says easy after that. Trying to put in the real world. I think this was in the real world as far as the NFTs. I think he's basically saying that is it going to be difficult to put those NFTs into the real world? Actually, what does that look like?
So
when you do that,
what that looks like for us. So first, kids, don't try this at home. There's combinations. So what I want you to realize is the real genius in the whole thing is the whole system. It's not parts and pieces. It's how the system works, because you need a Kadera Muhammad that will help you with automation of the system. You need a Rico who will help you produce the NFTs. You need an e-commerce person. All these pieces go together, right? You need the people who, because we don't produce the NFTs, we don't do the e-commerce site. We pull all these people together.
Oh, and I'm sorry. So I did get the correction. You're exactly right. There it says, I think he was saying it's easy to say,
right,
but putting it into the real world. And you're exactly right. A big part of this is that network. the
Yeah.
network of private equity firms. That's what you're referring to with
Yeah.
Rico and all these folks. It's like all of those people aren't just, oh, I'm over here in my silo. It's a network of folks, and all of those people have skill sets. So it's like, you know, Avengers come together in each deal, and everybody takes a piece to take that deal to that $750,000 valuation to 10x it together.
So it's in addition to the network of firms, it's also the network that we put together as an organization. So you have Heartland as an example, who handles a lot of the POS systems in the digital, I mean, in the physical side, who we can go in and compare our prices to. It's all of the 5 brokers that we have around the United States who are part of Transworld, who are part of EXP, who are part of Sunbelt. Those brokers finding us businesses to buy, right? It is, you know, it is the NFT people who put the NFT together. It's the people who put the ebooks and the audio books together. It's that whole package of people that we go to that's part of our network. It's not just, oh, you're being part of the net. No, you're being part of a network that's huge, that puts this stuff and does this stuff as a system. That's what you're tapping into. And I can tell you it's $1 million system for sure.
I love it. This was great. I do want to give people the opportunity to reach out to you. So if you can share your best contact information, and I'll put it in the, once this goes live, I'll put it in the comments as well.
How about Curtis at dealmakersinstitute.com is probably the best, quickest,
So
fastest.
You want to
Two
spell
S.
that? Yeah.
CURTISS at dealmakersinstitute.com.
Curtis at dealmakersinstitute.com. So if you're interested in
Yeah.
starting a private equity firm and being a part of this network and learning some of the strategies that we talked about today, be sure you reach out to Curtis, and we'll be sure to set up a call and kind of see if you're the right fit.
Right. Ace, one other thing that's very important here that I want people to understand, because when we look at deal makers, when we look at the business dominators, that's the group that's offset from a couple of groups. When we look at that, when we look at the curriculum that we teach, it's multifunctional curriculum. So the same core curriculum that we use to teach people to buy businesses and to take equity, et cetera, is the same core curriculum looked at in a different way for mergers and acquisition. To be a mergers and acquisition specialist or consultant or someone in that realm, because what we then do is we just ask 2 questions. Any business owner in the United States, small business owner in the United States, are you exiting or are you expanding? Otherwise, I have no conversation for you. If you are exiting, I'm interested in buying. If you are expanding, now I can help you from a mergers and acquisition perspective. And the analysis is basically the same.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the analysis. I'm not only doing the analysis for your company, but I'm looking for, as we just talked with Bradley about, we're looking for strategic fit for other companies. So now you have a blueprint and a framework that you can evaluate other companies for the acquisition. That's huge.
Yep.
When you go in, anybody on here, when you go and talk to someone, you can ask them, they say, oh, I want to expand. What criteria, what framework are you using to determine whether or not that is a good merger or a good acquisition? We use the same basic bones of the curriculum that we teach in order to do that as well. So you can do business coaching, which is just about, you know, that individual and trying to make that company much more efficient and effective. That's the coaching side of it. Or you can use the consulting / specialist side of it to help expand that business. So it's multi-dimensional in what we're doing.
Excellent. My last question is, so if they do reach out, you feel like they're a fit and they join, do they have to buy a polo?
Absolutely.
I have to buy a
You
polo shirt.
absolutely have to buy the
That's the
polo.
requirement.
You absolutely have to buy the polo. It's a requirement, and you
Very
can
cool.
donate
Very
some to
cool.
us as well.
Well, thank you for taking time on your Sunday. Please do
Absolutely.
reach out to Curtis. This is something that I'm very excited about. It's very, very cool. If you're interested in learning some of these
The
strategies,
book.
be sure to come over to Patreon, patreon.com/AceChapman. If you join, you get a copy of the Infinite Returns book, and we go into how we do some of these strategies. What we're talking about. The reason we generate all that is leveraging private equity for infinite returns, and we go into what that looks like. So great primer. And Curtis, thank you so much, sir.
You got it. You got it, Ace. Thank you. Take care, everyone.